Call this meeting to order. We'll all stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Commissioners, if you'll look over the agenda, I'll ask to approve the agenda.
I'll go ahead and approve it with amended to add 2 additions to it. One is for on the piece of equipment we have that we're going to, for the road and bridge, for the engine there that we have to take care of, and a couple of other things we're doing on it. And then also the second item to remove the 2020 Dodge from Purple Wave, or at least discuss that. And so with the addition of those 2 items, I will move that we approve it as printed.
Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pass, sir. Motion carries. Now on to the consent agenda. So the minutes from January 23rd meeting, payroll was $444,555.37. Bated tax was $21,201.16. Added tax was $216.96. Escape tax was $377.50. And new synergy was a wire transfer for $461.20.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to commissioner comments and committee reports. Want to go ahead and start, guys?
Go ahead, Ron.
Yes, I'll make a quick report on the juvenile detention center. This week here, we're working on audits. So it's the end of the year audit. We have the folks out of Manhattan, the Barneys, do the audit itself. We usually have another auditing firm do the monthly work and see where we're at. It looks to me like, looking at some of the figures, it's going to be a little bit tight year, meaning you spend a little bit more money than you brought in. But doing the best you can. I think we're seeing all these prices and price changes amongst people, and that's what's making it very difficult to keep within a tight budget. They're doing right. They're doing okay.
Thank you, Ron.
I attended Jessica Goodell through the EDC held a couple of informational meetings, and I attended the second one that she had, and it was on a project that they were working on, and they had received, the city of Abilene had received money for some infrastructure, road, curb, and a great thing for their industrial park. And so she just wanted us to be aware of the information and the discussion, and as well as some of the opportunities that will come ahead from that. And then also next week, I plan to attend down at Topeka, and they're having a meeting through the Kansas Association of Counties. And so it's a chance for us to meet with legislators. And then I noted at the same time, I guess they're having a review, emergency management on what's taken place on the snowstorm and so on. I think everything went pretty great on that, and a lot of helpful information. I did have a little concern, a little bit of a dubious approach as far as I understand there was going to be a suggestion that people get bussed out of Abilene or something to go to other site locations. And so if that's rumor or fact, but the thing is, I don't know that we had any site location for Abilene. And if you look at the concentration of population and the fact that people were here, and this is in regards to the snowstorm, and I believe neighbor to neighbor, there's a core group, there's a community dinner. I think there's some obvious needs within Abilene where people would need help. And so I think that needs to be addressed as far as the site. And so I will be there to share that information. I think they did set up a site or had a plan for one for Solomon and Harrington. And of course, it's kind of hard to tell on these snowstorms, other than this was one that was predicted that was going to be severe, and ended up that it was a pretty big snowstorm. So anyway, I look forward to having a report on that, how that goes.
But you're not planning on attending, or will you attend?
Well, that's a 3:00 meeting, and we're down at Topeka until well past the noon hour, I believe.
Right.
I probably won't get back in time for that.
Okay.
But I think, will the people from CORE be there? Because
Yes.
they also represent the high school and the educational piece
It
and,
will be.
and several others that are involved with the volunteerism. And that's something that it's maybe unlike before what we've experienced or maybe known about, but the community meal that they offer for free up at the Presbyterian Church, there's over 300 meals a week that are served there. And there's people that have some great needs. And then along with that, the CORE group is working with another group where they have a meal at the Methodist Church. And so anyway, they're trying to get all the partners involved. And then of course, Neighbor to Neighbor is there on a daily basis helping people. And so, and this isn't just unique to Abilene itself. I mean, there's some of that situation and things to deal with in almost every community, and some more than others. But we're right on interstate, and so also, and then with the density of population in comparison to the whole county, we need to really get involved there.
Thank you. Mine's pretty similar. I also had a meeting with the EDC. I think it was Friday evening or Thursday concerning the industrial park at Abilene. I contacted Janelle and I said, I think as a county, we ought to just at least show our public support for such a project. I think there's a lot of upside potential for the development of that project and for Abilene, and then correspondingly as a county. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm glad that they got something moving there. Also visited with Chancey briefly during the week, discussing the after action report, something that sounds like you did as well. I won't repeat what he said, but it does seem like there's some stuff that maybe we could talk about as a community, get a little bit better coordination. But overall, I agree. I think we handled the snowstorm, but I think it was a 100-year snowstorm. I think they're saying. I think we handled it pretty well. And I'll say this, nobody lost their life. That's huge. I mean, we should be patting ourselves on the back a little bit. Don't be too proud,
Grateful,
but
yeah.
let's be a little bit proud of ourselves about that. I'm also going to attend, I believe it's Government Day. Is that what the County Government Day up in Topeka next Thursday? I'm also going to rush back to join the after action report that Chancey's going to hold, I believe in Stara Hall. So I'm going to try to attend both those. So I might leave Government Day a little early to get back and do that. That's really all I got to report. If we don't have any further comments, I'm going to go ahead and move on to presentation of the proclamation. You guys want to go ahead and come up? If you would state your name for the record.
Dalen Alexander, I'm the youth mentor advocate over at DVAC. I want to thank you guys for allowing us to come present this proclamation. So Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month proclamation, February 2025. Whereas 1 in 3 adolescents in the United States is a victim of physical, emotional, or verbal abuse from a dating partner, a figure that far exceeds victimization rates from other types of violence affecting youth. And whereas 1 in 10 high school students have been purposely hit, slapped, physically or emotionally used by a dating partner. And whereas high school students who experience physical violence in a dating relationship are more likely to use drugs and alcohol and are at greater risk of suicide and are much more likely to carry patterns of abuse into future relationships. And whereas young people victimized by a dating partner are more likely to engage in risky sexual behaviors and unhealthy dieting behaviors and experience many disruptions to normal development of self-esteem and body image. And whereas nearly half of teens who experience dating violence report that incidents of abuse took place in a school building or on school grounds. And whereas only 9% of teens who are in an abusive relationship ever tell anyone about the abuse, and 81% of parents surveyed either believe that teen dating violence is not an issue or admit they do not know if it is one. And whereas by providing young people, parents, and professionals with education about healthy relationships, warning signs of abuse and relationship skills, and by changing attitudes that support changing attitudes that support violence. We recognize that dating violence can be prevented. And whereas the Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas needs all of Dickinson County to work towards ending teen dating violence by empowering young people to develop healthier relationships, assisting victims in accessing the information that and supportive services they need, creating better and more resources for young people in need, instituting effective interventions and prevention policies in schools, and engaging in discussions with family members and peers to promote awareness and prevention of the quiet epidemic of teen dating violence. Now, therefore, the Dickinson County Board of Commissioners hereby designates February 2025 as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month and urges citizens to recognize and assist all those who serve the rights and needs of victims of teen dating violence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really complicated subject, and I'm glad that you guys are trying to do something about it. When I first read this, when you said it to me, I was pretty shocked by the numbers you were getting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a problem.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest reasons is a lot of kids aren't really taught about the warning signs to look out for in a dating relationship, because a lot of it you see on TV and things like that. And so you think it's normal, or you expect someone to be a certain way. And so you hold a partner to a standard or try to hold them to an unfair standard and then hold those things against them. And so a lot of it is just awareness to what teen dating violence actually is and what is healthy and what's unhealthy, because a lot of teens are actually in unhealthy relationships or unhealthy situations, but they just think that that's how dating is supposed to be. And that's the sad truth.
Is there some sort of effort, or how do you get this, you might say, into the middle school and grade school, even though that's too soon to start in a way, but then again, they need to know about this,
Right.
some of this in high schools. So do you work with the school districts on that, or?
Well, in some of the middle schools, we've been let in to give healthy boundaries presentations and healthy relationships. And when they're younger, we talk more towards friendships, just so that you understand what is healthy and what's not, just because when they get older, friendships tend to carry over to like relationships and things like that. So it's easier to get them to understand it with the friendship aspect, so that when they get older, they can kind of mirror that with a relationship. And as far as with like high school kids, we try to get in and teach this curriculum called Safe Dates, and it's just teen dating violence prevention. And so there's different sections where we talk about what an abuser is, what a victim is, and then we go over like the warning signs and how a relationship can start off looking nice, but if you ignore the warning signs, it can lead up to more abusive and dangerous behaviors, such as strangulation, physical abuse, and even just emotional abuse of tearing their minds down to destroy their self-esteem.
Well, thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
I would make the motion that we go ahead and approve this Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month proclamation from DVAC for February 2025.
I'll second that.
Wrong guy. Sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I need to say aye.
You should, but
I
it's,
said aye.
If you want to go ahead and sign it, and then we'll give them a copy of that.
Yep.
We'll make.
Oh, I wrote it on mine.
Oh, here, I've got a clean one.
I was writing that. That's what he's talking about.
And then we can make a copy of it and let him have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
and you're both out of Salina,
Yes.
but cover what, 5, 6, 7 county area, or 10 counties? Wow.
But we have another branch, a satellite office in Concordia to kind of cover those areas. Thank you.
No discussion. Let's move on to the next agenda item. Looks like we have, now if you want to read the rules for public comments.
Per the Open Meetings Act, KSA 75-4317 and 75-4318A, as the elected board, the county commission is not allowed to meet or make any decisions without posting the meeting. They are only allowed to act on items on the agenda which they set. During the regular meeting, the county commission may allow for public comments on items not listed on the approved agenda. It is at the discretion of the county commission if they allow comments on agenda items. If you wish to provide comments, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address. If you are online, raise your hand and we will unmute you. Please state your name and address. Each person may speak for 3 minutes. The allotted time will start after the speaker has given his or her name and address. Public comments shall be addressed to the county commission only and not to the speaker or the audience. Only the county commission will be permitted to ask the speaker questions. The public comment period is not a back and forth discussion with the county commission. You should make your views and input known to them, but it is not a time to ask them questions. You should not expect them to respond to your comments. Comments may express support or agreement with the previous speakers, but in the interest of time, please do not repeat the same information. You may state something to the effect of your name and address, and you agree with the previous speaker. It is important to maintain a respectful, non-threatening atmosphere for anyone who would like to speak. Please do not engage in such actions as cheering, booing, clapping, insults, threats, etc.
You know. We're now going to consider CUP 25-01 for an event venue. We have a speaker for that. Tim?
Good morning, Tim Hamilton, Planning and Zoning. Back on January 16th, the Planning Commission heard the case CUP 25-01. This was a consideration of a conditional use permit to allow establishment of an event venue on a parcel of land in Section 6, Township 15 South, Range 2 East, generally located at 1245 Flag Road, at the request of Michael and Stacy Mooley.
Miley.
I'm sorry. Okay. It was approved unanimously with a vote of 6-0. And the conditions placed on it were that any outdoor lighting attached to the building be shielded to prevent light encroachment on adjacent residential property. This would not apply to driveway lighting. Based on their submitted plan, I don't think that's going to be an issue anyway. But consultation with Environmental Services Department for any additional well and septic permits for the use, consultation with the fire district or county emergency management to verify status of emergency response at that location. In the event this property sells or is transferred to a new owner, the conditional use permit will expire. The applicant has consulted with Environmental Services, Emergency Management, and the fire district regarding this issue. No public comment in opposition was received during the public hearing on the 16th. The commission options would be to approve CUP 2501 with staff conditions, approve with any additional conditions as deemed necessary, or deny the request. This would require proof that the use is just totally unacceptable for this location. But one of the items that they wanted, that I think the applicants had requested at the meeting, and I meant to put it here, but it's really more of an issue for either the township or road and bridge department, would be the signage that you all had mentioned about a wayfinding sign to direct traffic towards the venue. But other than that, staff is recommending approval along with the planning commission.
Okay.
And you refer to it as the venue or the place they're going, but
It's the venue.
actual name of it will
It's
be,
the Willows.
so it's the Willows Event Space. So not to be confused with another property
Right,
elsewhere in the county.
right.
So on this would be special events. And so it wouldn't be necessarily a daily operation, but someone would rent something for an afternoon or evening.
For weddings and receptions, especially events. But yeah, mostly weekends.
And, you know, we talk about economic development and sometimes you think of manufacturing and you think of other things that come in, and yet this is a type of economic development that it would involve a caterer and people coming in, and maybe they'll decide to spend other time, other facilities, hotels and so on. But so anyway, it's a great opportunity, but wish you much success.
What's your capacity going to be?
We're waiting for the fire marshal to come in, but it's probably 2 to 250.
Okay,
There.
pretty big. Big wedding.
Two weddings there
Yeah.
already. Our daughters got married in September, one in October.
Congratulations.
So we.
Get a payback finally.
9 people at her wedding, and Faith had about 220 attend hers, and the Faith's wedding obviously was the larger one, but still plenty of room. So we're estimating around 240 to 250 is the maximum occupancy.
So when that many come, we're talking 40 or 50 vehicles.
Probably.
And so there's adequate space for parking off of the road and,
Yeah, this building, our home is located on 28 acres and it's grass. So I made a parking area for everybody to park next to the building and with plenty of room and access.
We put signs up and it went great. We kind of parked a few vehicles to kind of give people a guideline.
sure.
And we didn't have any issues.
Pretty good.
You had two weddings in there. And you're like, you know what?
But I think 6.
Let's just open it up. I like that.
Yeah.
It's really
Pretty experience.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the conditional use permit 25-01.
I'm gonna second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Congratulations. Like I said, I mean,
Good luck.
this also is economic development, but I think sometimes you see opportunity to help, you might say neighbors and friends and
Yeah.
people within the region and
Faith,
nice location.
people from all over the country, New York, Colorado, they came
Give an official one here.
to Kansas.
They like that open space.
It was pretty good.
Sign that one.
Enjoyed it.
We had several local people already
Go in here.
helped out our weddings, so definitely want to recommend them.
Yeah.
So do they get a copy of the permit now that it's been?
Yeah, I'll sign it and I'll give them a copy of it.
Now typically places like this, do they need to have a copy of the permit up there at some location on their building or they just
Not necessarily,
have it or?
not necessarily, no.
Okay.
I can pretty much keep track of what's going on as far as construction and
We can give it to him.
things that are going on. And so I don't need it necessarily posted.
Now you have the conditions on this, so.
Thank you.
So just in a timely manner, they get the consultation with the fire district and
Yes.
all of that. So
My
the step
that's just,
before they get to that step.
and my understanding is they're getting that resolved right now.
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was very resolved.
Would you give a copy, Jennifer, when you're done?
Yeah.
But we have that fire marshal. And I have an email to them with all their information that just needs to be. And then I think they will come out and inspect and be able to give us a better idea on capacity. We have to have exit signs and certain things that they require that we have. So as long as they approve it, then we're good to go.
Well, I'm excited. We got some good event spaces around the county and it brings business in
Yeah.
and brings people in.
We've had 3 people already contact us and we've already been up and running yet.
Good to know. Good.
Pretty excited about it.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck.
Any other questions for me?
No, unless, no.
You don't need to stay if you don't.
There might,
Thank you so much.
on public comment, I don't know if there's anyone else online on anything that was not on the agenda.
Forget about that. I need to ask that question.
But if they want to speak, this would be their time to raise their hand or anyone here.
So far, nobody has their hands raised.
We're good to keep moving on.
Move on to the next agenda item. We got reports from county officers, County Administrator Janelle Dockett.
Commissioners, IT continues to work on server updates. They finalized some and obviously we have more to do. The appraiser's office has finalized the 2025 values and they're validating sales information. Currently, the highway department's hauling gravel for next year's paving project. This is for the shoulders, as Martin reported to you earlier. They're cutting trees and they're cleaning the bridge decks of salt. Obviously, that's eats through and ruins our decks, so cleaning off what they can. Assistant County Administrator and Finance Director, he's working on the annual audit, which is statutorily required. We have open positions, 2 in dispatch. We have an open paralegal position in the county attorney's office. We also have an open position on the North Central Area Agency on Aging Board. I had spoken with Sandra Messinger and she is not interested. She's going to give me some names, but Marla happens to be sitting in the office and I've asked her if she would be interested, so, which is good. And also, as both of you have mentioned, there will be no commission meeting next week on February 6th. Commission will be participating in County Government Day at the Capitol. So, but part of your agenda is to authorize a commissioner to come in and sign accounts payable. So that's all I'd have unless you have questions.
I do not.
Neither do I.
County Counselor Doug Thompson.
Thank you. I will need a couple of minutes of attorney-client privileged information before we end the meeting.
Okay.
And I've been working with the recovery court and working with the recovery court here in Abilene and also over at Junction City. And I've been extremely busy with that. And there's a lot of people involved in it and working their way back away from illegal drugs and activities. And so we've been working diligently on that. And the rest of that I would have would be pertaining to the attorney-client privilege information, probably 5 minutes at the end.
We'll put that in for you. Got a few things we added, so a long one, Doug.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Well, Doug, will he be in on the other one we're having for 30 minutes?
No.
Janelle? So we could put his 5-minute one in before the 30-minute one.
That's what I was thinking.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Since we have no notices or additional communications, we'll move on to introduction, consideration of resolutions. Resolution 013025. This is kind of the resolution I talked about last week. It defines and outlays the county administrator's powers and authority. If you want, you can read through there. I'm not going to read all this. There's one amendment that I suggested we make, which is section F, subset A. All agenda items shall be approved by the chairman, vice chairman, in the chairman's absence 24 hours before the designated meeting time, except in an event of an emergency. Obviously, we would address that immediately. Do we have any discussion?
But the administrator still has the kind of responsibility of organizing the agenda and placing things in place as far as, so it's kind of just more involvement too.
Yeah,
And occasionally people do ask, they'll say, how do I get something added to the agenda? Or they want to know if they can call, and it's not necessarily every time there's a request, you just can't put something on there. So,
right.
So it doesn't have to be vetted or timelined, you might say.
And this is something I guess I was wanting to do for the public's sake as well, to just that the conjunction of the county administrator and the chairman and the county commission, we work together to set our agenda. I want that to be very known, that the commission is very involved with setting the agenda, and it's not a one-party deal. That was my intent with this resolution, just to better define that.
It gives good clarity.
What about, like when we do abatements and added and, excuse me, I talk. Those come throughout the week and I just continue to add them to get them on. So do you want me to stop doing that?
No, I would think something like that, or it's a housekeeping type item that
Otherwise
is,
I'll be wait till next week before we.
It's part of the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just
So
making
I think
sure.
it still stays with that.
and on the consent agenda, we still have the ability, if we want to set anything aside from the consent agenda for discussion.
Right.
Or to take it off, get information, we can still do that. But
Yeah, this won't really change much, just for clairvoyance. We're pretty much doing this already. It's just a reiteration of the policy.
I was just making sure.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Do we have any further discussion? Good.
I'd go ahead and move that we adopt resolution 013025.
And I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll organize this, I guess. Looks like we don't have any unfinished business to discuss, so we will move on to other business. First agenda item there is authorize commissioner to approve accounts payable, something that Janelle just brought up. I'll open up to discussion. I'm going to open that discussion. I think we've kind of already said this, but I believe it would be you, Lynn, considering your proximity to the courthouse.
And typically they'll have that ready the day before. So that way, like Thursday, I'll be in Topeka, and if I want to get back, I can still do that Wednesday. So.
And I'd like to be the backup if at all possible.
I think that's a good idea.
So that if you were sick,
Oh, okay.
you guys were gone. I'm a little further, but it's not impossible for me to get up there and give a hand. So
Absolutely.
it's permissible with the chair.
Yeah, I think it's permissible. I believe we'll just need to.
And I think both could be backup for that matter.
Yeah,
So that way the word would get out if.
I'll make a motion then. I motion to authorize Lynn Peterson to be the primary accounts payable authorizee. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
And payroll too. We might as well put that in there as well.
Payroll as well. In the event of his absence, this is an amendment to that, we would have Ron Roller or myself able to authorize it as well. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We discussed earlier in our work session about the purchase agreement of the 2026 Osage Type 1 Ford F-550 ambulance and the remount of the chassis of another 2026 Ford F-550. I'll open this discussion. I'll start it. We were informed that this isn't necessarily that we're going to pay this out today. This would be paid out at the completion of these vehicles. So in other words, 2026, we would look at one of them coming across, correct me if I'm wrong, and then the next one would be 2027. We also discussed during that, hey, if the mileages aren't there, can we push that date back even more? Todd Holgren, our medical services director, informed us that we could do that. I was satisfied with that response, and I do not have an issue with this. I think it makes a lot of sense. I'll open it up for discussion.
I think you summarized it well, and so I would go ahead and make the motion that we do this confirmation and agreement with Emergency Services Supply. And it is for the purchase of the 2026 Osage Type 1 Ford F-550 and also the remount of the 550. The one amount we have is $343,610. And then the other remount was $256,545. My understanding is there could be some things subject to change because of the time element, but that's the basic framework. So we aren't locked in, or he's not locked into that amount, but it's very close and the best accuracy we can offer right now. So that's my motion that we approve it.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. That's not for you.
You have to sign both of them.
Yeah, I'll get through that.
No worries.
Next agenda item is the HRRR agreement for 1400 Avenue between Jeep and Key Roads. Janelle, why don't you talk about this one?
Okay, so as you are aware, we did receive a grant to improve 1400 Avenue between Jeep and Key, and that was awarded last year. This is just the next step in that, in signing an agreement for professional services and engineering services. Cobb Valley has been identified as the engineering firm that we would be using. This is the agreement that we have from them. It outlines the scope of services. One thing I would like to let you know, yes, the dollar amount is $159,780. That is an estimate that could come in lower. This is not to exceed that amount. But we need to get started on some of the processes as part of that, and that's going to be the core drilling and the design that have to be submitted, and then the survey that's part of that. So they can get started on this quickly, even though the project won't take place until 26. This is just the, like I said, the next step in getting this project moving forward. That was a $1.15 million grant that we received to improve that mile of roadway.
So if I can summarize, we're going to get a mile of new roadway at about 200,000, if I'm not,
Maybe closer to 250 with the right-of-way purchases, between 2 and 250.
and for reference, that's very cheap. If anyone out there is listening, it's a pretty cheap discount. So I think it would be foolish not to approve. It's
Good value.
Absolutely. I shouldn't say cheap. Yeah, you're right. Right from the right.
Run out of ink.
Let me give you a calendar. Any further discussion? Okay. I would ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We've had two additions to the agenda. If you're looking online or noticed our agenda earlier, the first addition is for the purchase of a replacement engine for one of our road graders. It was informed to us by Martin and Billy with the maintenance department and road and bridge department, sorry, that our engine on, correct, what model is it?
It's an 04. Oh, for heaven's sakes, case. Sorry.
04 case.
Yes.
Motor grader. The invoice we got here is a grand total of $23,071.36. That includes the labor and the engine to install. In that discussion and work session, if you want to go back and look, we essentially identified that this would probably last another 10 years, if not longer. This is kind of like the road one, 23,000 to get 10 years out of a motor grader. It's quite a cheap rate. My expertise in my personal job has any bearing on it. I do think it's a pretty good deal, honestly. We did discuss briefly perhaps buying a different engine and installing it ourselves. Billy had notified us that he is very backed up as it is in maintenance, and that wouldn't be very foreseeable and probably not the best option going forward. I'll open up discussion.
Well, the timeliness to have this taken care of, and then they also have the equipment, piece of equipment down there at Wichita on location. So that would help expedite this being completed. So I'm very comfortable with it.
I'm good.
I'll make the motion that we go ahead on this equipment share for this installation for $23,071.36.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
It probably should have covered this before, and Marcus could, there is funding for this, Marcus, and as far as the,
Yes, that would come out of the special machinery fund, which is somewhat like equipment reserve, but it's more specifically for the highway fund. And right now, let me check the balance. Yeah, we have about 1.14 million available in that fund currently for the highway equipment needs. And so that's where that funding would come from.
good information. So we kept our powder dry for the unforeseen.
All right, so motion carries. Let's move on to the next. And by the way, on that, do you want me to just sign this?
That's fine. Yeah.
Next agenda item would be, I brought this up in work session. I noticed we had a 2020 Dodge pickup, I believe a 1500 model, listed for auction. It's got 56,000. I think it's a little bit more than that, miles on it. I wanted to bring it to the agenda because I thought it was a pretty nice truck and that since it's bought and paid for, I don't really see the reason of getting rid of it in case we do have a need for equipment. I believe we can revisit, reconvene on that later at a later time if we find that, hey, maybe it's just sitting around costing us money. I think I would like to remove it from the auction and to just kind of have that, like I said, it's bought and paid for. I think we should keep it. So the motion would, or the agenda item would be to remove it from Purple Wave as an auction and to reassess its use at a later time. I'll open it up for discussion.
Well, and by doing that, we still have an asset. It's just instead of cash, it's in that physical truck. And
Mhm.
if we would need a vehicle like that, they're not readily available or sometimes not easy to find. So where does something like that, would it be kept then in storage until?
We can keep it either down at the highway department. There's, it would be out in the open, or we could keep it out in environmental services as well.
But sometimes there are, and is it logoed, or I guess we removed the logos since it was going to be?
Do you remember if they got them off? I don't know.
Removed.
That's right. Right.
So if, like the meeting at Topeka, instead of paying mileage, something like that, it could be driven down there or.
Right.
Or at least it'd be insured and we'd keep it running.
Mhm. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my other thought was if we were gonna go replace that with a new one, I don't know what a new Dodge pickup costs. I'm guessing they're in the $60,000-$70,000 range. So why go down that path if we don't have to, I guess is really where I'm at. So I'll make a motion. I'll motion that we remove the Dodge 2020 1500 from the auction block to be reassessed at a later time.
Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Marcus, if you will do that, let's know how that goes.
Mhm.
I suspect you're probably going to have to pay a fee to remove it.
And I'll let you guys know as that comes along, but I'll reach out to them today.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I think that ends the official. We are going to break for an executive session for attorney-client privilege. Doug Thompson, County Counselor, County Administrator Janelle Dockendorf, and Assistant County Administrator Marcus Rothschild will attend that executive session. Let's break for that at 11:44 for 5 minutes. We will remain session at 11:49.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So we will break in 2 minutes.
I would go ahead and make the motion that we leave executive session for attorney-client privilege and return to regular session.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And we're going to break again for another executive session.
Do we want to go ahead and take action on the discussion? Because we did have a
Yes.
clarification we needed to make.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, I would go ahead and make it. So our discussion had to do with, Doug, do you just want to summarize for the public so they know what this motion pertains
Certainly.
to?
We have 4 attorneys that we use for the purpose of working through with the court system that we have here in Dickinson County. And the 4 individuals appear in front of either Judge Googler or Judge Sexton. And so the 4 contracts that we have are identical, and the 4 attorneys are, if you want me to identify them, Joycelyn Lucas Randall, Charles Alt Duell. Charles is out of Salina, Joycelyn's at Dickinson County, Teach Moracle's out of Salina, and Russ Rowe is in Abilene. And so they would be getting the same amount of money. And Joycelyn may have an agreement with Russ Rowe that he would take some of her cases too. And so he may be paid a bit extra paid from Joycelyn Lucas Randall's. Not from the county. And so that part would be worked out with them, and I'll help them to be able to work through that process.
Okay, so I'd go ahead and make the motion that we modify the agreement to cover just what Doug Thompson has presented to us on this contract. And also that it is retroactive, so it goes back to January 1 of 2025 to where we are and
Yes,
for the rest of the year.
correct.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All I have.
We're going to, we don't have to motion for executive. I'm going to move that we do another executive session to discuss non-elected personnel. In that executive session, we will have County Administrator Janelle Dockendorf, Assistant County Administrator Marcus Rothschild. And I say we break for that at 12 even. Giving us a little,
What, 8 minutes or do you want?
it's up to you. Do you want to get it going? I was going to do
I
a little
think-
break here unless you wanted one.
I think 3 minutes is enough.
Okay, so let's do 11:55. We'll break for that executive session.
30 minutes.
I'll second.
Well, on just clarification, since it is non-elected personnel, the attorney does not have to be here or there's no attorney online. This is
Okay.
just
an internal-
clarification.
Some
So
discussion I'd like to have.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 11:55, we'll break for executive session. 30 minutes until 12:25 PM.
Good.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
You need anything from me? Because I can.
I don't know unless you have,
Motion.
you'll get the
yes.
pages that
I-
we.
Yes. I'll get that taken.
I second
Oh,
it.
any
I just
second.
want to make sure that when we, that we're.
I motion.
You motion.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at this. I need to get better.
So much it goes on. Right. No, but stuff goes on.
You know where I was.
So far, so.
The discussion.
I don't know where I saw this.
I will motion to return to regular meeting.
Second it.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We briefly discussed a non-elected personnel matter in executive session. No action items were taken out of that session, so nothing more to report for that executive session. I would motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 That's right.